Hey, what's up guys, it's Kelly, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my TBR for the GREEKGODATHON. If you find yourself enjoying this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, it really helps me out, and if you're new here and would like to see more of me, then please subscribe. So the GREEKGODATHON is a March readathon hosted by the wonderful Esme from Bookish Buddies, and she has roped in 13 of her BookTube friends, of which I am one, to help her co-host. I am playing the role of Dionysus. Did I choose this purely to give me an excuse to day drink and call it content? Maybe. You can't prove anything. The concept is simple. There are 14 Olympians split into 2 teams. Pledge your allegiance to one of the gods, and we go from there. I am going to leave Esme's announcement video linked in the description, along with the Twitter, the Discord, the Google Drive that contains all of the information, as well as the YouTube channels of all of the other hosts, and I would really recommend going to watch Esme's announcement video because she can explain all of this far better than I ever could. But basically, as I said, there are 14 gods separated into 2 teams. Team Chaos and Team Control. Each god has a prompt and an ability, so you pledge your allegiance to a god that gives you access to that god's ability, and then you can just choose your prompts from there. How the scoring system works is that you get 10 points when you complete your god's prompt. So if you are on Team Dionysus and you complete a Dionysus prompt, the Dionysus prompt, you get 10 points. When you complete a prompt from your team's list of prompts, you get 5 points. So Dionysus is part of Team Control. If you complete a prompt for any other god on Team Control, you get 5 points. And if you complete a prompt from the team that you're not part of, you get 1 point. However, this is where the special abilities come into play. So for example, on Team Dionysus, you can use your special ability to drunkenly misremember one of your prompts and replace it with one of the prompts from your list. So essentially you can take a prompt from the other team and replace one of the prompts on your list. So I have done this, we'll get to this in a second, but basically what that means is if I were to complete a prompt from the other team, I would get 1 point, but now because I've misremembered it and I'm replacing it as a prompt for my team, I get 5 points instead of 1 point. I promise I've only had like 3 sips of wine, I'm just really bad at explaining things. So like I said, I really think it's better if you watch Esme's announcement video, just to make sure that you're fully understanding all of the scoring and what all of the prompts mean and what all of the abilities mean. But we're gonna get into my TBR. Starting off with my prompt, the Dionysus prompt is Sinful Ecstasy, read a book that is a guilty pleasure read. And for this, I'm going with A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Now, as the god of hedonism, we're all about guilty pleasures. And in this case, we're going to be enjoying reading a book that, you know, we really enjoy. But also, this is going to be like the 4th or 5th time that I've read this book, and I'm going to be rereading it instead of actually getting a book off my TBR, so guilty pleasure it is. If you somehow don't know, it's a fantasy romance about a girl who kills a wolf and then finds out that actually she's like encroached on a treaty and gets whisked over the border into the fairylands, and it is basically a Beauty and the Beast retelling. You guys know it's one of my favorites. If you don't know what this book's about, you must be new here, because even if you've somehow escaped it anywhere else, you would have heard me talk about it. It's a fave. I love the series. I love Sarah J. Maas. I'm very excited for all of the Sky and Breath content that's about to be coming your way, but this is on my TBR. There is also a lot of wine consumed in that book, so my strategy is that I'm planning a TBR for every prompt on Team Control. Am I actually going to read 7 books in this readathon? Probably not, but we're shooting for the moon here. So next up for Team Control we have Apollo, Let the Sun Shine, read a book that makes you happy. Okay. So I didn't have any like Greek-themed hair accessories, so what I did instead was I put sparkly pink and gold bangles around my bun, and I have just knocked a large amount of them off. I'm not even trying to be like this, it's just happening. Next we have Demeter, Bountiful Harvest, read a book with nature on the cover, and for this I'm going with Pandora by Susan Stokes Chapman. It's the Greek god readathon. Obviously I need to read something that has some Greek influence, and I'm gonna read the synopsis for you because I know that it's historical fiction with Greek influences, but I'm not like 100% clear on the exact plot, so I was just like, pretty cover, Greek, here for it. London, 1799. Dora Blake is an aspiring jewellery artist who lives with her uncle in what used to be her parents' famed shop of antiquities. When a mysterious Greek vase is delivered, Dora is intrigued by her uncle's suspicious behaviour and enlists the help of Edward Lawrence, a young antiquarian scholar. Edward sees the ancient vase as key to unlocking his academic future. Dora sees it as a chance to restore the shop to its former glory and escape her nefarious uncle. But what Edward discovers about the vase, presumably that it can be traced back to Pandora, has Dora questioning everything she has believed about her life, her family, and the world as she knows it. As Dora uncovers the truth, she starts to realise that some mysteries are buried and some doors are locked for a reason. So, obviously, we have the vase that presumably is an illusion, or is directly, who knows how magical this book's going to get, the vase that Pandora would have opened. But also we have that lovely mirroring that as Dora is kind of exploring the history of the vase and learning more about the history of her family, she realises that it's better for some secrets to stay hidden, just like it would have been better if Pandora's jar had not been opened. Next we have Hera, I Am Woman, read a book with a strong female protagonist, and for that I picked up Heather the Totality. So this is from the creator of Mad Men, which I haven't watched but would like to, and it's about power, greed, privilege, all that good stuff. I'm assuming set in New York, set in Manhattan. I feel like it's going to be somewhere between like Gossip Girl and The Secret History, and I'm here for it. The Breakstone family arrange themselves around their daughter Heather, and the world seems to follow. Beautiful, compassionate, entrancing, she's the greatest blessing in their lives of Manhattan luxury. But as Heather grows and her empathy sharpens to a point and her radiance attracts more and more dark interest, their perfect existence starts to fracture. Meanwhile, a very different life, one raised in poverty and in violence, is beginning its own malign orbit around Heather. I didn't want to just pick like a fantasy that has like a cool assassin character. I wanted to pick something that had kind of a strong female character, not in the way that we typically consider a strong female character, and the way that Heather's described as being this kind of very charismatic character that everyone around her just flocks to and kind of circles within her orbit, I think is a very interesting take on that idea, and I'm very excited to read this. It's also very short, which is good at the moment. I've also just been finding myself in the mood for just some like literary fiction that goes nowhere but is just like an exploration of terrible people doing terrible things and just like indulging in good writing. I've really been feeling that lately, so I think that that's just going to hit all the spots. Then we have Hermes the Flying Messenger, read a short book. For this I'm going with Ajax Penumbra 1969. This is a prequel to Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore, which was one of my favourite books of I think 2020. I can't tell you a lot about this without spoiling what like the crux of Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore, but I would highly recommend reading that if you haven't already. It's about a guy who gets a job working in this 24-hour bookstore. He works the night shift. I think he works from like 10 p.m. to 6 in the morning, and all of these really weird characters come in and they never actually buy books, they just borrow books, and then they'll return them and be like frantically searching for another book. And he's kind of been told not to look at the books unless he's getting one for a customer, but obviously he gets curious, and when he starts to kind of investigate these books, he realizes that they're really weird, like they're filled with like weird symbols and not real words, and he realizes that there is a much bigger mystery at play. So Ajax Penumbra is Mr. Penumbra, and I'm assuming that what this book is about is something that's revealed kind of right at the end. So I can't really tell you what this is about without spoiling the ending of that and kind of the main crux of the book. But if you enjoy a good mystery and you like books about books and books set in bookstores, would highly recommend. It is also very short, it is under 100 pages. Then lastly, for my control prompts, we have Hestia, Heartwarming. Read a book that is cozy or that is going to be heartwarming. For this I've picked up The Last Bear by Hannah Gold. This is about a girl who moves with her father to a place called Bear Island in the Arctic, where he's been stationed at a research post for 6 months. But Bear Island, despite its name, doesn't have any bears left on it. All of the polar bears have left. At least that's what her father tells her, but one day she sees a very significantly polar bear-shaped thing wandering across the horizon. The polar bear should not be there. He's lost, he's alone, he's scared, and just like April, he is missing a very important part of his life. So the two of them kind of start to bond, which eventually leads April on a journey to help save this bear, and along the way she might just save herself. I think it's going to be heartbreaking, to be honest. I'm assuming that this girl's mum is dead and that that's kind of part of where her kind of sadness and feeling of like not belonging comes from. So I think it's going to be really sad, but I think it's also going to be a very beautiful look at a child finding her place in the world, and I think it's also going to have like a strong conservational message. I expect it's going to make me cry, but I also think it's going to leave me feeling very warm and fuzzy inside. Now, if you've been counting diligently, you might have noticed that's only 6 prompts, but as I said, my special power as part of Team Dionysus is that I can drunkenly misremember a prompt and replace it with one of the prompts from my team. So if I was sober, I might think that the prompt that was left for me was to use my head, like Athena, and read a book that I intended to read last year. But I'm not going to do that because, in my mind, the last prompt on my list is Hephaestus's prompt, which is to forge ahead and read a sequel. To be honest, this is the prompt that I see myself finishing the least, because I've put this book on so many TBRs and I really want to read it. I do. I'm not. But that is The Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan, book 3 in the Wheel of Time series. I really want to watch the series, but I think before I start the series I want to get a little further in the books, just in case they start bringing in plot lines from later books in the earlier seasons, which is the thing that shows do. And I don't want to get spoiled for the books, so... Is it time to finally read this one? Yes, it is. Am I going to read it? Who knows? But it's on my list anyway. Okay, I need to wrap this up quickly because I'm running out of time on my SD card. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. In the description, you'll find all of my links, as well as all of the links to everyone else involved in the readathon and all of the information that you need. Let me know in the comments what you're reading in March. If you're joining in the readathon, what team you're pledging your allegiance to. It better be Team Dionysus. And I will see you all again very soon. Thank you for watching and consuming this chaotic mess with me. Love you. Bye.